Hello and welcome to my channel. In previous video I showed you the basic but important points about Power Automate. I created a Power Automate that was triggered when the phone number on account was updated, and when the account phone number was updated, an annotation, a note was created and linked to the same account. I will put the link in the description so you can see that again if you want. In this video I will show you how to create Power Automates with user inputs that you can trigger manually and use the user inputs from the trigger in your steps. So let's start. As I discussed in previous video, you can create flows from create or directly from my flows. In previous video I showed you automated cloud flow. We triggered the flow when the account phone number was updated. In this case, we will create use instant cloud flow, which means you can manually trigger yourself. Next coming videos, I will show you schedule flow, how you can use schedule flows or desktop flows, and also Power Advisor, how you can check your flows that you create. So in this case, we will use instant cloud flows. We can manually trigger ourselves and also put some user fields, user input that we will use in a step. As I said, you can create directly from here, or you can go to my flow and create from here. So it's up to you, the option you choose. Let's use new flows, instant cloud flows. Yes. So as I also mentioned before, you can just, this is a simple trigger, so it's just manual trigger. You can just select here and give it a name or skip. I usually skip always because I go to a step then I have more options. So I just skip this. And here you have a manually trigger flow, but here you have all other options all other triggers if you are not using manual trigger. You can search for all other options here. You can just search by the name or just name if you have the whole name, or just some letters. You will see it will form for you. So let's in this case we will just manually trigger the flow. So let's use that one. And here you can see that we have an option, add an input field, which we will use our object. Which we will use in our next step. So let's add one. So you can see here we have different options as a field or as an object that we will use in the next step. Text, which is usually used a lot because we usually having the text and we use that as a field and use our stuff for searching, adding, updating and stuff. Text is very used, and then yes or no boolean field and file. You can, for example, add an Excel file and then go through the Excel file and update the data in Dynamics, do all other stuff based on the record from your file, or you just add an email or number or date. These are the types of the columns that field or object you can use as input. In this case, we will use text. So let's give it a good name. We will use the account. We get the account number, account ID from the account, and then we will update the account industry field in the account. So we will need the account ID to do that. So let's say we will put account ID. So the user know that he will need account ID. It's needed, and we will use here. I will explain for you account. Put your account ID here. Put your account ID here. So, and you can see there are different options for each fields you can put. You can add as a by default the field is required, but you can make it as an optional, or you can add it as a drop list, multi-select list, or as a simple drop-down list. Usually if the user can have more than one value, it's good to just create a drop-down list. It will be easier for the user to just select the value, or instead of typing the value, you may just type wrong or values. So it's good to create a list. In this case, we aren't just having one value, so we will not create any drop-down list. So let's just keep it as it is, as a required field, because we need the account ID, but we can make it as optional, but then it will run without requiring the field. So in this case, we actually require that they will put the account. So let's use that. Let's use the account ID and let's use the default this default option which is required. So that's good. So let's go to next step. Next step, we will update the account in Dynamics. So I will have one video actually that's explaining Dataverse, because you can do a lot of stuff in Dataverse. It is one of the actions that is used a lot. So I will go through all these actions in the future videos. In this case, we will just use update the row. So we select that. And when you're updating a row, you need to choose the table, and usually the table in this case the table we use is account, and you see always they are in a plural name, so accounts. And here it's important that we will use our input that we are getting from the trigger. So just AC, and you will get the account ID. So we'll use the account ID, and we want to update this field. So let's go back to Dynamics. We want to update the industry on the details here on account. We want to update to, in this case, we have different options. So we will update the industry here, the industry field here. So let's go back to our. You can use Control F, and then search for industry. You will, if you are like big. Form that is difficult to just say, it's easier for you to just search for otherwise you have to scroll down. So in this case it's easier just to Control F and search for industry. You will find the field on the form. So this is the field that we want to update. So let's say that we want just make the field as a accounting company, this account. So let's use that. Alright, so basically we are done, but before we do, I always give a good name to the old step that I do. So let's give a good name here. Update the account. If you want, you can give more names, like based on the trigger account, based on the trigger input. And also give a good name to your flow. So updating the account based on the trigger input. So that's it. We will save the flow of Power Automate. If you save there are error, you will get the error on the flow checker. So it will, you cannot save if there are errors. So this is good, because on the flow checker then you can see and you can drill on the flow checker the step. It will go to the step that is wrong. So so it's good. So it's save is no problem. So you can always, I will show you also some other tricks. You can always run your, if it is a manually if it's instant Cloudflare, you can use here to test. It will run your flow. Or if you go back and you have here select you have the run option here, so you can run from here or from the test. So let's run from here, no problem. So run, and you see if you run, it will ask you for because we have said that the account ID is this is the name we give to our input. So it's we call the input field account ID, and the text here we also put the text here, put your account ID here. So we need the account ID. So let's go back to Dynamics, and Dynamics, if you're using Dynamics on the link, you can get your ID from the link. Or if you are not done, you can also have, as I discussed in my previous video, and there is the level up or PowerPan, the one that you use, level up. It has called record ID. If you click on record ID, it will give you the ID. So in this case, I just choose for the record ID from the link. So let's go back and put our ID here. This is our ID, cloud ID, and then run the flow. So run and done. So let's see how we will check the flow now. So our flow, as you can see, our flow is successfully done, and it has updated. So yes, go back, open up more. Industry should be here. Sorry, industry 1. So let's go back to dynamics and refresh this one. This has no values and so far, so let's refresh it. Go to details, accounting. You see that actually it has updated the industry is accounting, so that's good. That is exactly what we wanted to do. So I mean, that's it for this video. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. I will put next video I will explain more about Power Automate, and also I will explain more about Dynamics Power Platform as a whole in coming videos. Thank you very much for seeing this video. See you next video. Bye.